My brothers keep a show, I gotta let them know. Tuesday, 7 p.m., gotta let them know. 3 M's, mint and model, gotta multiply. God gets all the glory, hands in the sky. My brothers keep a show, I gotta let them know. Tuesday, 7 p.m., gotta let them know. 3 M's, mint and model, gotta multiply. God gets all the glory, hands in the sky. My brothers keep a show. Introduce the host. My brothers keep a show. Introduce the host, Pastor Dr. Michael Green.
When's the last time someone said thanks for checking over your shoulder before changing lanes? Or gave you a pat on the back for sticking to the speed limit? Or a thumbs up for not tailgating? Probably never. Which is too bad considering safe drivers make the roads safer for everyone. That's why Allstate appreciates safe drivers like no one else. And they show it by saving you 45% or more, along with giving you safe driving bonus checks, deductible rewards, and extra discounts with the DriveWise app. So the next time you come to a complete stop at an intersection, ask yourself, why haven't I switched to Allstate?
The Brandeo Insurance Group, your local DMV Allstate agent, can help you save 45% or more for driving safely. Call him at 410-424-0844 and get a quote today.
It pays to drive safely. Call a local Allstate agent today and find out how you can save 45% or more. Switching to Allstate is worth it.
Give me another one. Give me another commercial.
Subject to terms, conditions, and availability.
When's the last time someone said thanks for checking over your shoulder before changing lanes? Or gave you a pat on the back for sticking to the speed limit? Or a thumbs up for not tailgating? Probably never. Which is too bad considering safe drivers make the roads safer for everyone. That's why Allstate appreciates safe drivers like no one else. And they show it by saving you 45% or more, along with giving you safe driving bonus checks, deductible rewards, and extra discounts with the DriveWise app. So the next time you come to a complete stop at an intersection, ask yourself, why haven't I switched to Allstate?
The Brandeo Insurance Group, your local DMV Allstate agent, can help you save 45% or more for driving safely. Call him at 410-424-0844 and get a quote today.
It pays to drive safely. Call a local Allstate agent today and find out how you can save 45% or more.
All right.
Switching to Allstate is worth it.
Hey, welcome, man.
Conditions and availability.
Are we good? Okay, there we go. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the greatest show on this side of greatness. And it is My Brother's Keeper, where greater men continue to make men great with what? A spirit of excellence. And of course, we know that it is a Tony the Tiger Terrific Tuesday, and we're making it great. And of course, sitting in with me tonight is the incomparable Dr. Bryan Champion, who is back from...
I am back.
Back from New Orleans.
That's right.
And just a FYI, just a slight FYI, Dr. Champion has realized that our producer is not here tonight. So if you guys can remember, a few weeks ago when we went live and our producer wasn't here, he was just off the chain. So let's just hope we can keep him under control tonight.
You said that today is Terrific Tuesday. We're going to make it great. But I'm going to tell you this. Today is no producer Tuesday. So things are going to be off the hook, off the chain.
Did he just say no producer Tuesday?
Today is no producer Tuesday. There's nobody to stop us from getting started. So let's get this show on the road.
Okay, all right. Before we start, welcome back from New Orleans.
I had a great time.
Amen.
I actually had an opportunity to walk Bourbon Street while I was there.
Okay, Bourbon Street.
At Bourbon Street, the conference was great. And afterwards, I got a chance to spend a little time with some good friends and fellowship and have some good discussions. But I was going down the street and I saw this place. It was called Razoo's. And I went past another place. It was called Fat Cats. And I went past another place and it was Funky 544. And then I kind of started looking around. I said, some of this looks familiar. And I started thinking back to 1984. I said, man.
Wow. What happened in 1984, Dr. Champion?
Man, this is where I found Mighty Green. On Bourbon Street. Man, that's the experience. And we've been friends ever since.
Beverly Session, where are you? Where are you? Dr. Champion's talking about New Orleans and his experience.
And our experience in 1984.
1984.
And I just recreated and relived some of those moments. I thought about you, brother. And I tried to call into the show last week.
Okay.
But for whatever reason, I wasn't able to get through. I think they just had some poor cell signals where I was at the time. But I know it was a great show. Pastor Oliver was here. And so I know Pastor Oliver did it up. And
your pastor was in your steed.
Well, I'm glad that he was here.
He was hanging out, man.
But hey, y'all, I got to tell y'all something now. I come in the studio tonight, and all these weeks I've been coming in the studio. I've been here since January. But tonight I come in the studio, there's one seat. I don't know what was he trying to send me a message? He sent me a text saying that with my pastor in here, he was renegotiating my contract, and then there's only one seat in the house. So I don't know, but I'm just glad to be back. And if y'all glad to see me back, y'all just go ahead and keep hitting that like button, like and share and like.
Ladies and gentlemen, the engineers that work in the sound booth, the producer did not come and put the chairs and set up the stage and set everything up. That's the only reason why.
I know there was one chair, and Michael Green was sitting in that one chair.
Well, my apologies, my brother. Good to have you back, man.
I'm glad to be back.
And thank God for safe travel mercies.
Yeah,
amen.
And it's been great. It's been great.
Amen. Amen. That's good. Hey, welcome Reverend Carr and exhorter Alvin Foster. Thank you guys for tuning in tonight. Also want to give a shout out to Dallas, Fort Worth, Texas, as well as San Antonio, Texas, Raleigh and Durham, North Carolina, New Jersey, the DMV area, also Pomona, California, and Ontario, California. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, as well as Bishop Jelani Kafela with the Imani Cathedral Christian Center in Pomona, California. Thank you for your continued support. Also like to give a shout out to James B. Walker, Bishop James B. Walker of the Christian Methodist Episcopal Church, the 7th District. Thank you so much for your continued support as well. Also, just thank you guys in your home that are listening from wherever you're listening from. So just give us a shout out and let us know where you're listening from. Amen.
That's right.
Just where you're listening from.
And I actually had a chance while I was in New Orleans to visit the Calvary CME Church in New Orleans.
Great.
I gotta be honest.
Okay.
There's a time difference, and they started service a little early.
Okay.
And I got lost, so by the time I got there, they had finished service. But I did get a chance to meet with the pastor and share with him and share with some families that were there. I did get the chance to leave my offering and everything, but I did tell the pastor of Calvary, Pastor Hill, that we were going to give him a shout out on our next show. And actually, believe it or not,
Pastor Hill.
Okay. And one of our listeners from Baltimore, Maryland was actually in service that day, and I had a chance
in New Orleans.
I had a chance to chat with him.
New Orleans.
That's right.
Okay,
and he's one of the listeners of our show.
Okay. All right.
And he was down there bringing his daughter to school at Dillard.
Okay.
So we just had a chance to share and everything. So it's just great. It's just good to know that our ministry that we're doing here is reaching a lot of folk.
Also forgot to give a shout out to Nigeria, Africa, as well as the UK over in Europe. We are international, so please forgive me, our listening audience over there. Thank you guys so much for listening in. We greatly appreciate it. And we thank you. But also, before we get started, just want to let you know, please like and share. And if you all want to continue to see Dr. Bryan Champion on My Brother's Keeper, like and share.
That's
and
right.
Just let them know how much you appreciate seeing him on My Brother's Keeper. And definitely, we're going into negotiations very soon, because Pastor Oliver submitted his hat in the ring as well. So I was like, okay, what should I do? I was like, wow, Pastor Oliver, Dr. Champion, and I was like,
I mean, it's enough room up here for 3 seats. I know you only had one here today, but we all can fit.
All right. Jared Farrell is giving us a shout out from Shreveport, Louisiana. Thank you so much, my brother. Always enjoy the show. Great wisdom and dedication. Thank you so much for tuning in, my friend. Thank you so much. Tonight's topic is, do you have what it takes? Do you have what it takes in regards to speaking about entrepreneurship? Of course, we've been talking about this new segment. We're going to kick off one show a month, and we're going to talk about Move. Move basically is men of vision excellence with excellence, men of vision, excellence, and entrepreneurship.
That's right.
So Move, it's a unique way of spelling move, M-O-V-E-E. Kind of got a little lost with that. Men of vision with excellent entrepreneurship. So again, and it came from, I was listening to I want to give a quick shout out to Pastor Moore. He does a show on Mondays at 12 p.m. Pastor Moore Talk. On Mondays at 12 p.m. and definitely it's an awesome show. But he was talking about how can we get together and really start moving the train, meaning how can we begin to start investing in ourselves and becoming economically empowered. And so I just was in my spirit, and it wouldn't let me rest until it was like, wow, we really need to start developing more entrepreneurs. Because again, when we look at it, it's like sometimes it's like, if you're tired of wondering if you're good enough to sit at someone else's table, someone else giving you what they want you to have, just really just getting in a position of being able to create your own table. You know what I'm saying? Based upon a vision of what God has given you. Because when God created Adam, and then he told Adam to name everything in the garden, Adam didn't see a table and a chair. Adam saw, he had vision to call a table and a chair out of the tree. And so when he did that, that meant that he was able to sit at his own table and name every living being and everything in that garden. So I think every man has that vision in their heart, but oftentimes just need to be created, an atmosphere need to be created so that it's conducive to his developing his business plan, per se, his vision of his business plan, so that he can create his own table. So again, I want to just really talk about, do you really have what it takes? Because a lot of times it's many hindrances and lack of exposure, lack of knowledge. The Bible says my people perish for lack of knowledge. So now that you have a generation that is knowledgeable, what are some of the hindrances that we can jump over, or some of the barriers or hurdles we can overcome?
I think that's powerful, and it's something that we really need to look at, because I would say most individuals and most humans are not actually having the opportunity to earn their self-worth. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And there's various reasons for that. I mean, there's a lot of ways that the capitalist society mm-hmm. and economy is set to hinder us away from that. However, when we look at certain things and we look at what we give to someone else, mm-hmm. Oftentimes to receive some type of compensation, mm-hmm. that there are alternatives that we could look at.
Yeah.
And begin to look at, just like, my financial planner would always say to me, you got to diversify your portfolio.
Okay.
And so when you diversify your portfolio, what you're doing is you're putting a little money here and you're putting a little money there, because some things are going good at this point, and some things going that. But when we look at our way of making livelihood,
Yes.
and everything, we have to consider oftentimes that we have to diversify that same our career portfolio. Like they used to tell us, don't put all your eggs in one basket. And when you put all your eggs in one basket, you begin to limit what you are able to do.
Absolutely.
Plus, you gain a strong dependency on that revenue stream.
Just that one revenue stream.
Right.
So that's why a lot of times, people go to work and they depend on just that one job because there's only one income stream, one revenue stream. So even with coming outside of that one revenue stream, I understand diversifying your funds, meaning investment practices of investing in stocks. But how about entrepreneurship?
But and that's the parallel that I was trying to make.
Okay.
That we also have to diversify our income stream. So I remember at around 22 years old, I was working a job, and I bought my first car. And I got the car out front, and the boss looks out there, and somebody says, "Look, Bryan just got a new car." And he looks at me and says, "I got you for the next 4 years."
Yes.
Because his feeling was that now I'm dependent on that salary to a point that I'm not going to leave because I got this, So what happens is we find ourselves getting into a lifestyle that requires us to continue to have a dependency on that paycheck. And having that dependency on that paycheck, thwarts our ability or desire to reach out and do a little bit more. To say, so now I'm afraid to diversify because I'm afraid of losing, what I have. So, sometimes you'll see people and you'll say, man, that guy got him a job, and then he got him a little night job, and he's delivering papers on Saturday, and so forth. Right, that's what we call him, a hustler. And we want to make him feel like he's doing something wrong.
Yeah.
But what he's really doing is that he's diversifying himself. So he's eliminating his dependency on a particular income stream. And so once we begin to have that type of mentality, then we can also then look broader at being entrepreneurs.
Okay. That's real interesting because, again, when you are unaware or you lack of knowledge or lack of exposure to a situation such as different income streams, you are only just going to concentrate on that one. I'm going to work, getting up, going to work, and that becomes repetitious. That becomes your norm.
Right.
But not realizing that there are other income streams that you need to be investing in. And that's when you were talking about the stock, even the 401k, other investment streams to not only be tied into the one income stream. We become slaves to our jobs. And so that when, Monday morning, you have many people waking up Monday morning and dreading going to work or even dreading Mondays. I can look on Facebook, social media, and say, man, Monday, I'm just sick and tired of going. And, and some people have anxiety attacks about going in on a job. And so that's why it really just compelled me to really talk about entrepreneurship so that we can get out of a place of one income revenue stream. So when I talk about Adam, and Adam looked at the tree, he saw a table and a chair. So therefore, if I can see a table and a chair in a tree, and so I create my own table. So now I'm in a place where I'm tapped into a greater vision that God has given me. So with that vision comes a place of independence. Nobody can fire you from what God has given you as a vision in your heart. They can fire you from the job, but they can't fire you from your work. Your work is what God has called you to do. So how can we tap into that strength to expose that to brothers that will be able to still be able to have this income stream until they can develop another income stream? So stop looking at just one, so that if anything happens, or you may not like the way your boss looked at you and you may want to say something, or someone's mistreating you, whatever it is, you're not tied in to that one income stream. You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So you have many income streams coming in. So how can we help develop or expose that kind of knowledge to brothers, to and sisters as well, to be able to be economically empowered?
Well, I think it's a couple of things that we have to do. But one is we have to realize that we have been taught that that a successful family and a successful career is around working a job, being faithful to a company for 30 years, getting a gold watch and a pension. And we've set out many times with that goal in mind. But once we realize that that's, that's success for the business owner.
1 second. Hey, Sister Dr. Sonia Price Brown, Sister Norma Tyler, Sister Leslie Cash Tibbs, and Elder Kevin Motley, Reverend Hughes Kennedy. Thank you guys for tuning in tonight to this topic. Please remember to like and share, because again, we're going to expose certain tactics and practices and vehicles that can empower you to get out of the one, if this is you, or your husband, your mate, your boyfriend, your son, to help them to develop another economic income stream, so that they are empowered to not only rely on just one. I'm sorry, brother. Just wanted to give the people a shout out.
Oh yeah, and we appreciate them being watchers and viewers today, like always. But as I was saying, that model of success that was given to us by company owners, by people who benefit from our loyalty to the company.
Absolutely.
I was listening to a guy the other day said, don't fall in love with your job, because your job will never fall in love with you. And because of that, you end up being hurt, because all of a sudden you have bought into something that's not ends up being mutually beneficial. So when we look at that, we have to look at the fact that it's good to make money for someone else, but it's also good for me to make money for myself. So now, once we look outside of that box and recognize that we don't have to be confined to that single stream.
Amen. Amen.
Once we recognize that and we realize that, I can make money doing a lot of other things that I'm just good at. I remember I used to get off work and cut grass in the evenings. And that was like, my extra money.
That's your hustle.
Right. And so the thing is, and like I said, we got to stop making people feel bad that they got to hustle.
Well, oftentimes it's because of lack of knowledge. And because, again, you're laughing and joking and teasing because of lack of knowledge, or lack of exposure to a process of having more than one economic stream.
Exactly. Now the second thing is, and this goes back to something that I think we've been talking about, most of this year, is that we don't share information with one another, because at the end of the day, there are a lot of business owners and a lot of very successful entrepreneurs. And we see them in their success, but we have never seen them in their struggle. And because we haven't seen that struggle, we're not able to make the connection from I'm here and you're there. Those who've been successful, if they would just share that story in a way that gives others hope.
Yes, sir.
And that's what we're missing.
That's that gap.
But that's right, because we need that hope. Because I want to be able to say, I can get from here to there. I automatically assume you started here and you just made one move, and I'm thinking I got to make 22 moves. But once I found out that it took you 30, then all of a sudden now I see the vision is attainable.
Absolutely.
And when we see a vision is attainable, all of a sudden we're in a whole new dynamic.
Absolutely.
And we're ready to begin to move forward. We're ready to make the sacrifices, and we're ready to accept the challenges and move forward.
Absolutely. That's absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. I want to talk about something about cultural conditioning in a moment, but I want to welcome Minister Antonio Lozado. Thank you for watching. And Sister Leslie Cash Tibbs says, you have to know what you want to do and know what your purpose is in order to be able to move forward. Thank you for watching, Sister Carol Black Henderson. And Brother Jared Farrell says, one problem I keep seeing are double standards for African Americans when it comes to being entrepreneurial. Absolutely. And Brother Kevin Motley says, partner with people who are thinking as you do and invest into strands that produce residuals. Absolutely. I'm in agreement with you. Good. Share the process of growth. One of the things that I do is whatever product that I use, that's what I invest in. If I eat Chips Ahoy chocolate chip cookies, I'm going to invest in those cookies. Not only eating them, but monetarily. Right. Down to my toothpaste, whatever it is, that if it's a public traded company, if they're trading, I'm going to invest in it. Sensodyne toothpaste, down to the bare basic things. I'm going to invest in those things because guess what? I know if nobody else is buying them, I'm going to be buying them. Because those are things that I like and those are things that I use. So I think that one of the things that we should be doing is take an assessment of the items that what you use. People often say, where do I start? Where do I start? Start with what you already buy. What products that you purchase that you're a consumer of, and you start looking at those items and see how much they're traded for. I wish I would have just jumped on that Google a little sooner than when it actually happened.
Right.
When you were talking just a few moments ago about how everybody seems to be going one way, and I think it has a lot to do with the cultural conditioning of a society of what we've been taught to believe. I was reading a book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Robert Kiyosaki is the gentleman's name, Rich Dad, and I think I should be trying to get some money from him as well for a shout out.
Right, but, you just gave him a pub.
Hey, how about that? Because I do want to note this reference from him, and what he said was how when you go to public schools, they teach you how to become an employee. But when you go to private schools, they teach you how to become an employer. And I thought that was very, because I know I spent my time in a public school, and a lot of times, you have teachers who are not as encouraging and say, just finish school and get a job. You don't worry about that, just finish school and get a job. But no, there's something else greater in me that is calling out that I must accomplish other than just get a job. I'm not saying I'm better than anyone, but I'm saying there are better opportunities than just get a job. And I think that's one thing when we set our children up, we got to be able to really speak that life into them and expose them to a variety of fields and know that just don't pigeonhole yourself into one place, saying I just want to be this one thing,
So, I mean, think about it. And you say culture conditioning. Mm-hmm. So really look at what's going on. Who conditions the culture? Those in power,
yes.
Those with money, those who can influence. So,
yes.
Toyota will give all this money into job training programs. Why? Because they want people to come and be qualified to come and work at Toyota. So it's a great business investment in young people because they learn a trade and then they come and work for Toyota. They've been invested in and so forth. But at the same time, that's because don't think that they're just doing it out of the kindness of their heart. They're doing it because these individuals continue to help them profit and make more money. And so what we have to recognize is that it's okay to, if that's what you want. But we also have to recognize is that there's greater things out there. And that's where we have to really begin to focus our awareness to tell people that there is more choices, there's more options. If you make this choice, we support you, we're happy for you. However, don't make that choice because that's you believe in your heart, that's your only choice.
Okay, all right. Well, as you said, Toyota, but here's the kicker. People who work at Toyota, the factories, oftentimes don't really look like me. So you're going to educate me to come work in your factory even though I don't look like you? So I think, we have to really get back to basics sometimes, get back to the very basic, because we look at a lot of accomplishments of our parents, and oftentimes they didn't have over a high school diploma. but yet and still we have doctorate degrees and we MA, MBAs, and we're excelling in careers, but it seems like we can't stay out of debt. But here it is, our parents didn't have over a high school education, but yet and still they built churches. You know, they bought homes, they purchased homes, and so it seems like, you know, all of these things that they were able to do with less, but here it is, we have more, and we can't even do the half of what they've done. So again, I think we have to come back to basic, a place of coming back to basics even. And when we come back to basics, we have to line this thing up. The Bible says in Proverbs 13:22, a wise man leaves an inheritance for his children's children. So when I look at that scripture, I look at the scripture saying that you leave an inheritance not only for one generation, but generations. That's plural. So therefore, my generations should never have to work for anyone else. You have what it takes of what God has placed in you to provide for your generations to come after you. So when we look at that, it's like, hey, what is it that God has given me that now that he said that when I put my hand to the plow, it's going to yield forth fruit and much more fruit. So I think one of the first things is getting back to basics and understanding who you are and stop trying to keep up with the Joneses. Sharing the wealth, sharing the knowledge. W.E.B. Du Bois said there is the talented 10th. You know, I'm still looking for some of the 10th of our generation, of our race. You know, every race have a talented 10th. And so therefore it's about sharing and growing, reproducing what you are. I could teach what I know, but I can reproduce who I am. Right. So it's like you got to get in that position. I shared something the other day about, we were talking about why we cannot come together. And so I was sharing about the Willie Lynch syndrome. And so therefore the book and how this slave master, West Indies slave master, came over to America and taught this slave owners how to keep their slaves in poverty and keeping them working for them. And so therefore if you keep them working for you and keep them at each other so much, keep the big against the tall, the light skin against the dark skin, and they won't have time to really wake up and see that, wait a minute, you still working for me. You see what I'm saying? Working for someone that don't have your best interests. So all I'm saying is that it's about economic empowerment. Let's stop talking about what's the problem. Let's get ahead of it and stop being reactive and proactive. Develop a plan. Get our think tank together of some brothers that understand economic empowerment, and let's start moving this train. Because now it's like, hey, you know what? Let's develop our resources. What resources do we have? If we want to become self-sufficient, I can't become self-sufficient if I don't own anything. You see what I'm saying? Absolutely. So if I'm talking about trying to build and I don't own, what am I going to build? You know, if I don't know how to farm, how am I going to feed myself? How am I going to feed my family? Until we really start looking at this thing seriously, back to basics, because that's what our parents did. Our parents, they farmed. They understood agricultural principles. So therefore, when they farmed, they ate. They knew if you didn't farm, you didn't eat. Don't even pull your feet up under the table. And they were serious about that. So again, we develop our resources and come together. How did you grow that? You grow tomatoes. I grow apples. Somebody else grow cabbage. And we come together and we build together. So it's like we've gotten away from a lot of that. And you know what? Let me just put a plug right here. Prayers out to the Franklin family on the loss of Aretha Franklin. Our prayers from My Brother's Keeper definitely go for the family. Definitely a powerful woman who gave the world her soul. And she put soul in music, and so she was the queen of soul music. So I'm just God thankful to have experienced, you know, her life while she was alive. And so our prayers definitely go out to the Franklin family and the loss of Aretha Franklin. So again, I'm sorry if I just wanted to take that plug, brother.
Hey man,
go ahead.
No, you're good. So I mean, and I totally agree with you. And we got a lot of things. You know, we can't tackle this problem. This is not what you call a simple problem with a simple solution.
Absolutely.
It's a complex problem. And what we have to do, like I said before, we have to really begin with a transformation of our mind. We have to have a paradigm shift.
Absolutely.
Because, as you said, we've been culturally conditioned in order to, buy into a system that works for someone else and not work for us. But as you say, that there's some things that are some really pointed things that we got to learn to do, and that keep us away from being successful, even before we move into entrepreneurship, that we just have, like you said, some basic resources. And one thing we have to really look at is we got to eliminate debt.
Yes.
I mean, our debt ratio is out of this world. Even folk that are making great money, and I know great money is a relative standard, still find themselves living paycheck to paycheck because their debt or their desire to show off and have more than they need
and keep up with.
So I love to go to somebody who got one of them fat houses, and they got some bad houses. There's a lot of people out here they got them.
Yes,
but then sometimes you look at it and you're like,
it's only you.
But it's greater than your needs. Now, if you were to take that same money and downsize maybe, then maybe what else could you do with that? Or you got 5 cars, and I remember one time I had 5 cars, and I didn't have places to park, and I was like the neighborhood nuisance because people like so glad when I got rid of cars but I didn't need all them cars. Now they were all old and paid for, but still there was no need for it. And so what we have to realize is that sometimes we exceed our needs and rob ourselves of opportunity. Because if we would just now take and reinvest, eliminate debt, we would find ourselves in a new place.
Okay.
The second thing is that, we often feel like we arrive when we hit certain plateaus of finance in our life. When we think we arrive because we got financial independency. I got mine, now you get yours.
Yes.
And one thing I'll just say to us as a community, none of us have arrived until somebody stops knocking on your door asking you for 50 cents. If you don't, if people still trying to borrow money from you, and people are still are in need around you, you haven't arrived. Because when you step out of arrive, when you touch those people around you in a way that they don't need anymore either.
Absolutely.
That's when we truly become empowered. Because now I ain't trying to have to take care of somebody who we feel should be taking care of themselves.
Yes, sir.
Yes, and so we only do that by sharing the wealth and sharing the knowledge. And when we do that, we begin to become a community that's empowered instead of an individual who's empowered.
Absolutely.
Because as an individual, I'm still not wealthy until my family and friends are equally as wealthy.
You said something, brother. You said something. Even when you talked about we have gone to school, we got these great jobs. One of the things that really strike me is that in the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, the poor dad was the one who had matriculated through school, Ivy League school, and went on with the MBA. And he just was doing it. But he was the poor dad. The rich dad was the one who had not gone to the prestigious universities, but he understood how money works.
Right.
And that was so profound, is that he understood the nature of money. So then money worked for him, and he no longer worked for money. So one thing I'll say to that is also, where do you spend most of your time? Where do you spend most of your time? Facebook, where do you spend most of your time? Whoever and whatever you spend most of your time doing, that is who you are a slave to. That time, you have to get that time back so that we could turn around and reverse it to restructure, so that we can give more time to what God has given us in our hand. Because again, they can fire you from a job, but they can't fire you from your work. Come on, somebody. They can always fire you from a job. And some people, oftentimes you ask a person, who are you? They'll tell you their job before they tell you who they are.
Right.
And so when they lose their job, they lose their identity. And that's amazing right there. So again, we come away from a job mindset to what God has called you to work with your hands.
I agree.
It's in you, Doc. All we have to do is discover it. And what's your passion? What are you good at? What do you excel in? What would you wake up and do at 8 o'clock, at 6 o'clock in the morning? or Monday morning, if you could do that thing, that's what you would wake up and do at 6 o'clock Monday morning.
You asking me that now? What would I do? What would I do if I didn't get paid? I would come and be on My Brother's Keeper.
Oh. Which is every Tuesday at 7 p.m. on WBGR.
Yeah, I just love it when I'm in studio with you, man.
Amen. Well, bless your heart, brother.
Right.
Bless your heart. Hey, Kevin Motley said, invest your money in foreign trade, and one of these days you will make profit. Also, foreign exchange is an amazing thing. Pastor Vanessa Hughes Kennedy, learning to build together is a strong need. And Sister Norma Tyler is just giving a hands up because of good information. Brother Farrell down in Shreveport, Louisiana, too true, powerful, and well said. But I think one thing that we have to really understand is that we have to have that desire. Many times we don't have the desire to do because we have not been exposed to it. And so therefore we only do what we've been exposed to. The entrepreneur definition, a person who organizes and operates a business or businesses, taking on greater than normal financial risk in order to do so. One thing is so powerful is that when we do that, we always got to go back to, I think, the first book of beginnings, Genesis, and that's one thing God gave Abraham. He gave him land. And so when we start understanding the platform in which we are to build, then we understand our resources and we can better use our resources. Some of the demographics, 27 million working age Americans, nearly 14% are starting or running new businesses. Men, 62%, are more likely to become entrepreneurs than women, which is 38%. And this gender gap has been increasing since 1996. Unlike small business owners, the youngest age demographics are most likely to be entrepreneurs. 57% under age of 44 and 29% are between the ages of 20 and 34. Now here's the kicker here. Only blacks, African Americans are underrepresented as entrepreneurs in U.S. compared to their general population numbers, with 9% being entrepreneurs. 18% of entrepreneurs are high school dropouts. 53% of entrepreneurs have taken at least some college classes. I'm reminded of the story of P. Diddy, Sean Puffy Combs, Jay-Z, Kanye West.
That was my classmate.
That was your classmate?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You kept pushing when he dropped off.
Yeah. But I mean, hey, he doing
vision, and so, but vision, and he understood, he saw. And just because, again, when we look at, well, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, the rich dad was the dad that was didn't go to college, but he had a high school education, and he had worked many jobs.
You just called me Poor Dad.
Okay, 53%. Our producer's not here. 53% of
She wouldn't let you say that.
53% of entrepreneurs have taken at least some college classes. 28% of entrepreneurs have at least one college degree. More than half of today's entrepreneurs graduated in top 10% of their high schools. 10%. Wow. And I think that is so important when we start now putting that into perspective. And I think one of the things is that you have to have passion and motivation. And so when you look at that, it's like, wow, where I get that passion. Passion is going to connect you to that purpose. So when I understand my purpose, then all I got to do is look at the vision, and that's the blueprint of what God wants me to follow, and I'm going to write the vision down. And then again, write the vision, make it plain. You commit to yourself and you look at it every day. There's certain affirmations that I have up on my mirror, excuse me, while I'm brushing my teeth.
So
Brother Joseph Holmes, how you doing? And Reverend Boyd, thank you guys for joining in. Thank you guys for joining in. Entrepreneurs, what would you wake up and do at 6 o'clock Monday morning? What would you be excited to do? Dr. Champion said he would be excited to come in to My Brother's Keeper. So what would you do, ladies and gentlemen? Go ahead.
Now, I was just going to kind of, begin to also revisit a couple of things that we said. And you think about it, and and why sometimes people choose and are comfortable in this conditioned environment. Because see, you talked about you got to have passion, you got to have vision, and oftentimes being an entrepreneur pushes us a little bit beyond our comfort level. And so the business owner makes it very easy for you to be comfortable because it says, well, I'm going to offer you a health plan. And you know what? You can have paid holidays and paid vacation. But you know, when you're an entrepreneur, you got to buy your own insurance. And you gotta, if you don't work, you don't. There ain't no paid holidays when you're an entrepreneur. You don't work. There's no pay. So they fill your head with these motivations that if you're to continue to work for me, and if you're not if you're not self motivated to run a business, then you know the challenges may be a little overwhelming. And I think that's where this culture conditioning plays such a strong phase in it.
But again, one of the first things is passion. Have the passion to do it, and then secondly, not afraid to take risks. A lot of times, and as you just said, you know, you move this right into the point. So
that's called a segue.
It's a segue. And he went to college, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so when you talk about you know, taking the risk, it's not real good. That's not a good feeling, you know, to be the risk taker. But the risk taker is the one that get to pay the salary and get to give the vacations and you know, and invest the 401k for you and match your 401k. But it's rules to it. But although you're taking the risk, you've done your research to build the confidence. And if God has given you the vision, don't allow the risk to stop you from accomplishing or going after that goal.
No, and let's not confuse risk and foolishness, because again, there's steps to getting anywhere.
Yes.
And so
process.
As we think through things, it's like, you know, I've never worked in a restaurant. I've never you know, had any association with food management and everything. So to just go out and say, I'm going to start a restaurant today is not a very wise choice. Now, that's not to say that I can't open a restaurant at some period of time. But now, what do I have to do to learn the business? What do I have to do to maybe partner with others, chefs and others who can help me do this? You know, and that's where, you know, the plan comes in. That you take the risk by saying, okay, I'm going to work with someone else to reduce my risk. I'm going to continue to work my job and do this on the side to reduce that risk. And that's where we have to, so you can't let the risk, you know, blind you from your passion, but you have to make wise decisions around the risk.
I think one of the things that we have to be crystal on is that you're focused. And you clear, you know, you have clarity going in, and no king goes to war without first assessing, you know, his situation. So before I go to war, I'm going to see what I have working in my favor, as opposed to what's not what's not working in my favor. So again, assessing your situation. Number 3 is self-belief, hard work, discipline, dedication. Sometimes you really have to push yourself extra hard oftentimes when no one is behind you, when you're the boss, you know. So you got to be able to get up and hit that clock and put your hand to the plow and know that you're going to do a great thing today. Again, one of my affirmations is what can I do today to add value to my purpose? So we have to be disciplined, and we have to be that go-getter. No one else is going to, you know, push us and you know, hey, keep going, keep moving, you know, some days it's just not going to be there. And that's when you got to find that inner you know, to win, because winning is an inside job.
That's right.
I came up with that one, ladies and gentlemen. Winning is an inside job. Number 4 is that adaptable and flexible. Being passionate and dedicated is important, but being inflexible about client or market needs will lead to failure. So again, we have to know how to adapt to the climate of certain aspects of what you want to invest in, or what business you want to grow. So you got to watch the trends as well. Product and market. That was another segue.
I'm sorry, I got ahead of you.
Yeah. But you're on point.
Okay.
even after being missing for 2 weeks, ladies and gentlemen. So he's on point. That's right. You're on point. Product and market knowledge. So talk about that for me for a minute, Dr.
Well,
Champion.
you know, as I was mentioning earlier, you know, it's great to have an idea and a passion. You know, one thing brothers like to barbecue, and every brother probably has his special barbecue sauce that he knows that he can market. You know, and he knows it because everybody comes through the house and says, "Man, I love your barbecue sauce, man. I would buy it from you." Yeah. But how do we package it? How do we sell it? You know, because you can't just keep putting it in a former milk jug and people picking it up in your backyard. You know, so how do you begin to understand,
market and distribute and
and so we have to begin to learn our business and understand how we keep ourselves out of trouble.
Absolutely. Yeah, and license as well, because see, someone may get sick, and so therefore you have to be covered as well. So it's a difference between different type of corporations, as you're saying. So when you talk about marketing and packaging, and it's certain rules to this, and you can't just put it in a mayonnaise jar, right, and say, here, give me $15. But one thing I will say with like Lil Ray Ray and Boo Boo and them, being out on the corner. They're distributing, marketing, their product already. So they're already in business, and they have a knowledge, a working knowledge of this, already. So all they have to do is just change the product.
No, and you know what? You're absolutely right. Hey, I was in Las Vegas, walking down Las Vegas Boulevard, and a young brother comes up to me and he says, "Hey, man, would you support me? This is my rap CD." And he looks at me and he says, "This is not my peer." So he understands the market. He says, "Sir, I promise you, there's no cursing."
Yes.
And I said, "Well, how much is it?" He says, "Give me what you want." So I bought it. I've never listened to it, honestly and truthfully. But I supported his initiative. I also supported the fact that he was respectful and he understood his market because he said, "Sir, I promise you, there's no cursing on it." Because he know I ain't want to buy no boomity junk. Now he might have had the cursing one in the other pocket that he goes
to market to someone else.
Right.
Absolutely.
And that's what I said. Understand your market and understand your customer.
Absolutely. Well, I could probably say that he knew that you were a fine, distinguished older gentleman. So he said, "Sir." Right. And he very respectful because I'm sure because you age.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what he would have said if he saw you.
But
if he thought I was old, man, goodness gracious.
Okay. And Brother Farrell says, "I would like to." Okay, Dougie Fresh.
6 minutes.
6 minutes. Okay. Brother Farrell says, "I would wake up bright and early to create and share my art with the world." Brother, what kind of art is it? Is it painting? Let us know what kind of art it is, and maybe you can send me some, and I definitely would support you in your effort of what your passion is. Amen. Don't wait to get there to start. When it's time to be ready, you should have already been ready. So it's not time to get ready when it's time to be ready. So you got to already have yourself ahead of the curve. So what kind of art is it, brother? Just share it with us and let us support you. And because that's what this platform is about encouraging one another. One of the things that I want to ask you, Dr. Champion, is I see a lot of races supporting each other. But when it comes to the African American community, oftentimes we feel or have felt psychologically that we shouldn't do it because we're not buying from other people. Sometimes we feel that psychological, cultural conditioning that we've been under.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, and again, it's when you look at that, and we have a lot to overcome.
Yes.
And when we look at how we got to where we were, or where we are, And once we recognize and educate people to help them understand it, we'll see things through a different lens. But the reality is this, you know, and you mentioned it earlier about keeping us at conflict. You know, so we became competitors instead of teammates as a community, as African Americans. And that was by design, because we were separated and told you're better than you and you're this, that, and the other.
Absolutely.
And so by doing that, those who were running the system recognized that as long as they kept us divided, that they could continue to win. We got to really think about a plantation with 150 slaves and a slave owner of about 20 or 30 people. And if all the slaves had ever got together, that the slave owner didn't have opportunity. But what he really realized is that we got to divide and conquer. So from those early lessons of divide and conquer, we still haven't gotten over them yet. And so we still see ourselves as we'll put businesses doing the same thing right next to each other, rather than recognize that maybe I need to move around the corner, or maybe I need to partner with you, and I send some folk over to you, and you send some folk to me. And until we get to that, we're not going to be empowered again as a community. Because as long as my brother is in need, I haven't arrived, and we have to actually recognize that. And until we recognize that, and until we're able to accomplish that as a community, we're still going to be a community that is mentally and psychologically poor.
Yeah, and to add to that, I just think that we need to just really be in a place where we recognize the psychological help that's needed and necessary, because again, we carry over a lot of baggage, and so therefore it only persists within preceding generations. So again, that psychological, help to help us get through certain patterns, I think that is so necessary. And definitely, we can't do all of this in just one setting. And this is something that I want to do every month, that we're going to bring to you every month, individual and entrepreneur out of our community, and that will be able to speak to us, whether a banking manager, a lawyer, attorneys. We want to bring a dentist, and so we're bringing all of this and bringing it to the people to let them know that we can become empowered and building together and putting together that blueprint, not just talking about what's wrong, but what we can do to make it right, to continue to build upon it. So that's one of the things, men of vision, entrepreneurial excellence, and move. It's with 2 E's.
That's right. You know what? And because we gonna also have to have a love. Ladies of vision and empowerment.
Okay. Well,
so
absolutely.
Because we want to walk this thing together with them
collectively.
So while we're moving, the ladies, we want y'all to love on us too.
Absolutely. Before we do wrap up, I just wanted to speak encouragement to, that yes, you can do it. There was a man named Fred that went to school, went to college actually, and he was to write a business plan. And upon writing the business plan, he just knew he had the greatest business plan of everyone, so he submitted it. And when he submitted that business plan, his teacher gave him a C-. And so that really discouraged him so much that he dropped out of school and started the business that he submitted to his professor. Do you know that I'm thankful that he did start business, and I'm sure he's thankful that he did, because that Fred person turned out to be Fred Smith, the owner and CEO of Federal Express. So never let anyone rain on your parade. Again, my time is up. Oh, I'm sorry.
No.
Go ahead.
Our producer just came in the house.
Hey, producer.
All right.
Just came in.
And we didn't act up.
I didn't act up.
We didn't act up. We were good today.
Well, anyway, ladies and gentlemen, my time is up. Our time is up, and we definitely thank you for yours. Thank you for tuning in tonight. Please remember to like and share. If we said anything that encouraged you, please comment and share your comment of encouragement or show that you would like to see. Remember, when good men stand together, they become great. Hey, I am my brother's keeper, and see you on the other side of greatness. God bless you.
My brother's keeper show, I gotta let them know. Tuesday, 7 p.m., gotta let them know. 3 M's, mint and model, gotta multiply. God gets all the glory, hands in the sky. My brother's keeper show, I gotta let them know. Tuesday, 7 p.m., gotta let them know. 3 M's, mint and model, gotta multiply. God gets all the glory, hands in the sky. My brother's keeper show. Introduce the host. My brother's keeper show. Introduce the host.